Hey everyone, it's Monday. You know what that means. I'm going to. As you join, tell us where you're joining from. Hey Herman, how are you? Give me just one moment. I'm gonna get
to you guys today about this idea of empowerment and how we can help empower one another. This is a great topic. If you know anything about our page and what we do, we're very much focused on how can we mentor one another? How can we take ourselves out of these negative situations and then use one another's strengths when we're weak, when we need a little bit of help and support? How do we find that community within ourselves so that we can heal past domestic violence, past PTSD, past all of the emotions that come with, and then what we can do after we heal. What are we able to do as far as identifying other women? What are we able to do in encouraging one another to make sure that we keep going? I don't know about you, but I know personally sometimes it's just hard to say, okay, keep going. Don't go back. Don't be hard on yourself for the things that you went through, but rather using those things as gifts that can help push us forward. So today we're going to be talking to the whole movement. I always look really funny, guys, because I have to get close to the camera so I can hit all the buttons for you. But Brianna Duckworth is going to be joining us. And she's really interesting when you hear about what she does and how she does it. Hey! How are you?
Hi. So good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Awesome.
Awesome.
So
Thank you for joining us. I'm really excited. I was just telling them a little bit about what you're doing with the whole movement. And I'm excited. Guys, when her and I first talked, I admitted to her, hearing her story live is going to be a little bit more difficult for me. We're very similar in a lot of the ways, and that's one of the things we always struggle with in the line of work that we do, right? We love to hear other people's stories, but we're still, even though we're doing the social work, it still impacts us. So I'm excited for you guys to hear from her. One thing that really strikes me about Brianna Duckworth is that she is all about empowerment, all about personal development, and she's very strategic. She's physically there every day helping women say, okay, this is where you are now, this is where you want to be, and these are the steps we're going to take to get there. Very purpose-driven for women and aspiring leaders. But the key to Brianna that you need to know, she uses her God-given gifts and life experience together and expertise to help women intentionally achieve goals, live empowered, and transform. As the owner and member of the W.H.O.L.E Movement LLC, Brianna has developed and transformed many women's lives through workshops, programs, and coaching sessions. She enjoys singing and writing praise and worship music, as well as spending time with her family. And she is inspiring women every day, which is why I have her here to talk to you guys, because you cannot miss her content. And the whole idea is that she wants everyone to live whole, which is an acronym that I will tell you guys I have to read, because every time she tells me it doesn't, I can never get it right. But women helping ourselves and others live empowered and excellence. What a
yes.
big goal. What a big mission. She's scared of nothing, guys.
Definitely.
Before we get started, why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey and how you started the whole movement?
Yes, definitely. Thank you so much. So my journey, it began, so I'm a survivor of 8+ years now. So I'm excited about that. And just my heart is just still with women who are just still struggling through the healing process and just still trying to find their way through their healing and just, to break free. And so, like you were saying, our stories are pretty similar. I was in a relationship for about 3 years. Once I had my daughter, she was 3 months old. And the moment that something just clicked for me was when he hit me when I was holding her. And that for me, it transformed my way of thinking. It just transformed my whole mindset. And from there, I just began my healing process. And so I took that story of brokenness and I decided that the important thing for women is to be whole. And so that was where the whole movement was born. And so that's just my passion now, is just inspiring women to understand that they are whole, regardless of what they have been through, what we go through. We are all whole.
I love that. There's so much of that feeling we talk about too, how you sometimes we're looking for something in somebody else to make us whole. And it's a dying battle, because you're always going to be searching for it. But the idea that it's already in us, it's already there. We have it all the time. We just have to pull on it is beautiful. I love that. So your core premise is this idea of empowerment. And I feel like it's a buzzword. We all hear it. What does empowerment actually mean to you?
Yes, definitely. So for me, empowerment means truth. And so I just feel like a lot of times, like you're saying, we think of empowerment as just this fluff word, but it really is authenticity and truth. It's pulling it's pulling out the authentic self and encouraging others to be authentic and true with themselves. And so true empowerment is just being free to be you and helping others to be free to be themselves. And so that's just my main thing. The other thing is just remembering the truth about who you actually are. Like you stated, that we've been whole the whole time. So even when we go through things and circumstances, we have to remember that what's in us has always been in us. That strength, that wholeness, our true identity is still in us, regardless of what we go through, regardless of the wounds that we face, we still are whole. And it's just pulling that out of each other. And that's where that empowerment comes from.
It's so interesting too. We talk about all the time as females, but we don't always grow into this society where it's normal and good to grab one another up and say, we're doing this together. We're not competing. Everything, growing up as a female, if we have any men watching, men, it's very normal to talk about the competition. Women, it's the same way. We're kind of raised in this idea of competition. Why do you think that is? And how does that interfere with our ability to empower ourselves and one another?
Definitely. So women, because we have more so, a lot of us are more emotional. And so I feel like that definitely plays a part into that whole competition thing. And then with just the culture itself of just the way the world is, the media attention is all about, how your hair looks, your makeup, your clothing, who has the best body and everything. So I feel like our minds are shaped as a culture to look for those things in each other and just want to be the best and want to look the best and everything. But how we can empower each other is just continuing to remember that who we are doesn't change just because someone else gets to walk in who they are. And so we have to learn that we all have our own path in life that we get to walk, and each of our paths are not like the other. And so although we may do similar things as some people, so like maybe someone is a singer and someone else is a singer and they feel like I have to be the better singer, there's still going to be certain fans that person reaches that the other person can't reach, because whether it be their personality or the way that they sing or the way that they write their songs. And so we have to remember that there's something unique, even when it seems like there's a reason to be threatened by someone similar than us. There's definitely no reason to be, because we can encourage each other in knowing that we all have our own path in life. And as we strengthen each other in that path, it brings even more authenticity and truth flowing through our own selves. And so we just get to a point where you surround yourself with other like-minded women as well, because some women may not, really want to be as authentic or empowered or truthful. And so it definitely is about also surrounding yourself with like-minded women who want to empower each other and want to not fall into the culture of the competition and things like that as well.
I love that. And that's exactly what you get when you follow Brianna as well. It's at the whole movement, right? Or is it at whole movement?
The whole movement, yes.
At the whole movement. Yeah, when you follow her, if you're looking for that proximity principle, you're looking for the like-minded people, you're going to find them right there. They're amazing. Every time you say authentic, it hits me, because there's something so important about the idea of authenticity that it's kind of hard when you think of the competitive nature that we have sometimes. And then authenticity sounds a whole heck of a lot like vulnerability too. And being able to be open, being able to connect and understand. If we're talking about who we are and understanding that we're whole and what makes us unique is how we can't compete with each other, is that there's just these key pieces of uniqueness that we should be drawing out of each other. We should be looking at someone and going, you know what? That right there, that's what makes you special. You might not know it yet, but this is what I need you to know. If we could go around and, you know what, guys, we're just going to challenge you today. Find one woman this week and point out specifically to her, look her in the eye and tell her what her unique piece of her life is that's inspiring to you. It will change everything. Start building that community. I love that.
Definitely.
So
I agree.
we've talked a lot about like purpose in your pain, right? And you're the prime example. You've taken this situation over the last 8 years. You found a way to make that part of your life's purpose, you know, being able to give it to God and let him push you into where he needs you to be. And that's just so encouraging to me. But I want to know, we have a lot of women who are watching this, are going to later watch it on IGTV, that the brokenness feels overwhelming. It feels like too much. What would you say to that woman? How can you take your brokenness and turn it into a point of empowerment for yourself?
Definitely. And so just remembering that, like I was kind of touching on earlier, it's just that your identity is not rooted in what you go through. And so just remembering that, just reminding yourself that what you go through and your wounds is not who you are. And oftentimes we get the two mixed up and we think that this must be who I am, you know, that I must deserve this. We tell ourselves these lies, but ultimately, once we clear our minds of the lies that we're feeding ourselves and the false illusions that we're creating, although there's truth to the pain, but there's also the lies that we feed ourselves in that pain. And just something that I just want to remind everyone is that you can get through that brokenness if you just remember the truth about who you are and just surround yourself. It's so important. Like a lot of times the biggest thing is isolation. And so the biggest piece of advice that I can give for the empowerment piece is to get around the company. And I know it's easier said than done, of course, but it's taking those small steps to actually say, okay, let me just find out one person. Maybe it won't be multiple people, but it can just be that one person that you can find who can encourage and uplift you as you get the strength to uplift and encourage yourself.
I love that. There's something so incredible about understanding our identity once we do come out of the isolation factor, because you get to see that community, a different set of people than you've seen before. That's one thing that we really encourage on the page too. If you want a challenge today, just go on and find one person who has responded to one of our posts and respond back to them. It could be 3 words, but respond back and just start to pull yourself back out of that, because it will change everything when you can start to lend a little to others and give it back. And that's one of the first things we shut down, right? I was a giver, I was a giver, I was a giver. Now I'm not giving anything. I'm gonna be over here and everybody can stay over there. That's not how we heal. And I think that's so important in your message. I love that.
So good.
So we talked a little bit about empowering one another and overcoming, you know, our training to compare and compete with one another. But then you were talking about watching how you talk to yourself and the lies you feed yourself. It makes me think a little bit more about that forgiveness talk, right? There's always this idea of, do we forgive abusers? And then what does that mean for actual self-forgiveness? What would you say is the important piece to remember about forgiveness? What does it really mean in these situations, and who should we be focusing on?
Definitely. And so, like you're saying, both sides are important. And so the forgiveness of the abuser is definitely to lay it down and be done with it so that you can move forward, so that you're not allowing them to steal your power, because that's what we give up when we're holding on to that unforgiveness. We're allowing the abuser to steal our power. Ultimately. And then as far as forgiving ourselves, a lot of times that's rooted in the guilt of or the shame of feeling like you shouldn't have let it happen, or you shouldn't have done this or done that. And so we have to let go of that guilt as well. Another thing that that took me a while to figure out is that once I finally forgave, I felt like I had to become like friends with him. And something that I learned is that forgiveness and reconciliation are two different things. And so when you forgive and you get to that place where you can forgive from a distance. It doesn't mean that once I forgive, now that means that, we're okay, we can talk now and chat because I forgive you. No, you can forgive and you can still go on about your life and, move on and move forward, surround yourself with new people. So forgiveness is not reconciliation. And so I think that that's something to really get your mind wrapped around, that as well, as that forgiveness has nothing to do with reconciliation.
That's so important too, because if we think about forgiveness, where does forgiveness sit when we're staying in the reconciliation phase of the abuse cycle?
Right.
And we have to remember that forgiveness, that, okay, we're not going to think about that anymore. We're going to move past it. We're going to keep going. That reconciliation phase is totally different than what we're talking about with
Yes.
forgiveness post-abuse, after you've left. It's really about releasing what has happened so that you can, okay, I got to put that baggage down so I can keep walking forward. And it doesn't have a whole lot to do with them. It's not about
Right.
whether they feel like they need to be forgiven. It doesn't matter if they recognize what they've done. And most of us are dealing with narcissists, right? I hear that all
Exactly.
the time on our page.
Yep.
We love to connect about it, and it's good that we connect about it. But one of the key things in connecting that we've been with narcissists is the fact that they will most likely never realize what they've done.
Right.
But holding on to the anger and the hatred isn't actually helping us move forward. It's weighing down our souls.
Right.
That was
Definitely.
awesome. Thank you for that.
Definitely. Yeah.
One thing that I find so interesting is that you call yourself a personal development strategist. Can you tell us a little bit about what that means?
Yes, definitely. So I just love getting in with people's unique, like everyone is unique. And so the personal aspect of it is that I recognize that it's a personal connection that I'm making with the person. And then the development side is just, I just love seeing people just develop, just reach for their goals, achieve their goals, just move forward in their life. And so that personal development strategist is just like, we create just like an action plan of just what does that look like? What steps are we going to take? And I just want to be there to just encourage and support you along the way, just help you to gain clarity on what those goals are and why it's important to you so that you can stay motivated as you're moving through those goals. And so the personal development strategist just comes from my passion for just seeing people just have a clear guide to feel like they can do the things that they want to do. And so it's just providing that just that positive support of you can do it, and that in here, let's walk through how we can do it. And so it's just, sometimes it's just that missing piece, because sometimes we just get stuck and it's just that extra push that we need to have someone alongside us.
I love that. I love that. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about what you're doing on your page? Because I'm not kidding, everybody. I want you to go over and like her page, follow all of her content. You'll see me there constantly commenting too.
Yeah.
But tell us what you're doing on the page side that is so important for women to be able to connect with.
Definitely. So I just want it to be a community of support. We definitely have similar visions and missions, and so I love that as well. And so it's just a page of support, of just reminders that you are whole. You may see some scriptures there from the biblical, and then you'll see practical application things that you can apply in your life. You'll get to also see some like event flyers, because I also do local workshops. So if you are in the Seattle, Washington area, definitely, come out and see us so that you can get that face-to-face interaction as well. But it's just a building online community, because I realize that not everyone dealing with these things is located in Seattle, Washington. And so it's just to create a space where people from anywhere just may get that touch that they've been looking for.
Oh, that's amazing. Why don't you go ahead and remind everybody what your at name is?
What was that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead and tell everybody where they can find you on Instagram again,
Oh, yeah.
one more time.
Oh, yeah. So it's at the whole movement. And so we are also on Facebook, same thing, the whole movement. You can like us there as well and follow us there. And yeah, I look forward to it. We definitely love just new people. We welcome everyone. And so feel free to jump right in.
Yay. Why don't we give us strategy? We always try to end these with a survivor strategy. I feel like you've given us a lot. Some of the main things that I took away was you were saying that our ability to walk in our uniqueness doesn't take away, or somebody else walking in their uniqueness doesn't take away from our uniqueness. I love that. It's talking about not competing, but really empowering one another. But why don't you give us another survivor strategy, something we can do today to make sure we're moving forward?
Definitely. I was definitely going to suggest what you said earlier was just going out and actually finding a woman today that you can encourage and just, you know, find something unique, pointing out something unique. The other thing is being a good listener. So being that person to hear their unique story, because oftentimes we don't get enough opportunity to share our stories with people who can actually handle and encourage you through it, because, you know, some people may have had negative experience and, you know, that lack of trust there, but be that person that can be that positive touch that they need to get to that next step of their healing, as well as just a reminder that, you know, some people have the fear of the unknown, and to encourage them, if you are a survivor, maybe speaking to someone who's in it, just encourage them that that fear of the unknown, it only seeks to steal your joy, to kill your dreams, or to destroy your future. And so once we can start to get through the healing process in our minds, we find that freedom that we've been looking for.
I love that. Yeah, there's something about the fear that just holds everything up. And there's so much, you know, Brianna is your living testament. There is so much beyond it, past it, but you have to be willing to trust God and take that next step.
Yes.
That's such an important one. Guys, if you don't know already, we do post these reminders on the site. You'll see them all the time. We even have highlights for it. So if you want to see some of the other reminders from past speakers, go on to the reminder movement. You'll be able to see them there through the highlights. But also go on our IGTV and see lots of workshops just like this, bite-sized, very actionable things that we can do today. Because again, we have to make sure that we're healing. And the best way to heal is to heal with one another, encourage one another, and focus on empowerment. Brianna, I love what you're doing. I'm so excited to share back and forth. It's going to be amazing.
Definitely, definitely. I love what you're doing, you guys. Just keep following her and just keep encouraging her, because it's a journey that we're all on together. And I'm so excited to watch you continue to grow. You're doing amazing, and it's a blessing, definitely.
Thank you. This is exactly what we do, guys, every single week on Mondays. It's just connecting you with other people who can help move you forward, but make sure that you come out of the shell. Don't stay in the isolation. If you're not a very public social person, that's fine too. Connect with somebody on the page. Hey, can I message you? I saw that you wrote this. You know what? I just am going through X, Y, and Z. Some of that anonymity helps, right? Just being able to talk to somebody, but make sure that you're focused on those positive steps to healing, because there's so much more purpose out of the pain once we can start working through it. Thank you again for joining us today. Make sure everybody goes on our IGTV, because you're going to see this full recording on IGTV, or you can find it on our YouTube at Remind Her Movement.
Awesome. Thank you for having me. You also just continue doing what you're doing and just stay encouraged and reach out. I'm here. So we definitely made a friend. So
always. Awesome. Well, we'll talk to you guys later, and we'll be following you as we go through the next few weeks too. We'll be sharing some of her content back and forth on our story so that you can see exactly what Brianna's doing over